this is One Leeds. Welcome back to the latest video. This video, as always, is sponsored by Shop GNO, The Job Match Group, and Match Bingo. Let's get into it. First up, The Job Match Group. Whether you're looking for your next big gig or just browsing, The Job Match Group has niche job sites made just for you. F1, retail, security, and loads more. They're about matching the right person to the right job. Make sure you check them out if you're ready to level up your career. Then we've got Shop GNO, an exciting new e-commerce site where you can grab exclusive deals and discounts. Right now, One Leeds has an affiliate link just below where you can score a 25 quid membership for free, unlocking special rates and benefits. You can even list your own shop on there with way better rates than Amazon, eBay, and Vinted. They've got some Leeds bits and some general bits now and launching soon, plus some great prizes just for signing up. This is all powered by a massive Leeds United fan looking to make waves in the online shopping world. So check them out and support your local. And don't forget our mates at Match Bingo. They're smashing it with footy fun. You can get 5 bingo cards for the price of 4 through One Leeds, and you can even deposit just a £5 at a time to join the action. It's a big chance to win whilst having a blast with your fellow Leeds United friends. Thanks to all of our sponsors. Check the links in the description, and let's get on with the video.
Well, hello everybody. My name is Conor McGilligan. This is not the Room Mill, but we are going to be talking about a few transfers in this video, of course. We're going to be speaking about all the bits and bats I know you guys are going to be interested in. We're going to be speaking about the game last night. This is 5 things. Normally I will pre-record the 5 things, everybody, but I thought because I've got the Room Mill to do this morning, I've got 5 things. I thought I'd just merge it and do 5 things as a live. So I know you guys all enjoy it. So normally it will be like a nice little compact 12 to 15 minute video, nice and edited. But I thought today I'd go live because obviously we wouldn't be going live for the Room Mill. But we don't need to worry about that anymore, do we, in terms of a midweek fixture? Because Leeds United have been knocked out by the children of Sheffield Wednesday. And I want to say, I've said this multiple times, I've given them a hell of a lot of credit. An unbelievable performance from Sheffield Wednesday last night. Absolutely unbelievable. A 16-year-old in there last night in Will Granger, who was on Brownie's substitute bench. Or I think he was playing for Brownie, actually, as Brownie is the 16s coach at Sheffield Wednesday, was on his bench. Or I think he might have played against Grimsby the other week, but I think there was 3 or 4 of them who were in the squad, or 4 or 5 of them who were in Brownie's side, who either had to drop down because there wasn't enough 16s or were part of the 16s, who maybe didn't come on off their bench. So you got to say absolute credit to them. It was an unbelievable performance. And I said last night, if it was my boy, if it was your boy going up, you know, against Leeds United of the Premier League, and you saw him putting in effort levels like that, and you saw him conjuring up those sort of performances where they matched Leeds. First half, we generated 0.46 XG against that team with our team. Massive, massive respect for them in a night of which Sheffield Wednesday tried to boycott the ground. I think the majority of it did. There was 7,000 in attendance, most of the Leeds fans, millionaires on the pitch, and Leeds United struggled to get past a resilient Sheffield Wednesday group of kids. Now, I guess the first myth that I want to dispel is, oh, well, they're getting together, Sheffield Wednesday. They're getting together. You know, it can be difficult against a bunch of kids who have got everything to prove. I think that is absolute nonsense. If you've got the situation they're in where they're staring administration in the face, their club could be bust in the next 12 months. They've got 10 senior players, and the best player on the books is a 35-year-old Barry Bannon. I'm not looking at that and thinking, oh, well, you know, they all got together. I'm looking at our team, which has been put together over the past couple of years, you know, to win the championship, get 100 points, beat Sheffield Wednesday in the process twice when they were in a better state, get to the Premier League and invest over 100 million quid, which we have done so far. And a lot of those players were playing last night. And for us then to make up this excuse that, oh, yeah, well, a bunch of 18 to 20-year-olds have got together and they've made it difficult. It's like, no, that's not what happens. As a Premier League side who've beaten Everton on the opening day and have multiple first teamers in that side or players capable of playing in that first team, you have to go out. There has to be a response to Arsenal, which was diabolical at the weekend in terms of just giving Arsenal way too much respect, individual errors, the setup, personnel. And you've got to go into that Sheffield Wednesday game and give us confidence. And that's what cup games are all about. We mentioned it last year. And Sunderland lost last night, of course they did. I'm applying a bit of context to this. 3 Premier League teams go down. You know, that might be Sunderland, so I don't know why we're comparing Sunderland, but I mentioned it last night. Context needs to be applied. Huddersfield are second in League One and doing very well and have senior players, multiple senior players registered, and have had a really good transfer window when it comes to League One. So, yes, context applied. Okay, it's Huddersfield beating Sunderland. It wasn't a great night for them. But if you put Huddersfield right now up against Sheffield Wednesday, there's one winner. One winner. So congratulations to Sheffield Wednesday. I have to say that. You know, I used to work in Sheffield, and it's chaos what's going on at this moment in time, and the guy in charge is an absolute tyrant and a child who will not give up the club and somehow values it with no assets at 100 million quid, which is comical. So Leeds United should have gone down last night, built a little bit of confidence, come away with a 4-5-0 win, and then you go into Newcastle with a bit of exuberance, a bit of mentality lifted after the loss at the weekend. I don't care if it's Sheffield Wednesday, it's a win on the books. You go in to Newcastle with a bit of confidence, and you know, you're able to once again conjure something, you'd hope. And we're going to get into a few of your comments in a bit, everybody, but I'm just going to get into a couple of the things that we learned last night, because I've simmered down a little bit, and I felt last night we're still pretty balanced, especially towards the end of the video, where I was trying to maintain a little bit of calmness in the chat. But things have got to be called out. Things have got to be called out, and similar things that we've seen over the past, and when it comes to Leeds United or Daniel Farke, we have to talk about it. So I didn't really talk about the game. I didn't really talk about the game, the press conference quotes from Farke after the game, but he apologised post-match and called the defeat embarrassing. But then something really, really irked me with what he then did. So he then downplayed Sheffield Wednesday's youth factor, effectively saying that it wasn't exactly a youth side. Paraphrasing there, it's not word verbatim, but it wasn't exactly a youth side. Just take accountability, mate. Just take accountability. The players on the pitch got it wrong. You should have won that game. Hands down. Take accountability. And we don't hear accountability from Daniel Farke enough. He'll deflect, and there is multiple examples of this. You got it wrong. The players were not good enough as well. It's not just on Daniel Farke. But when you've got 8 players with fewer than 4 senior appearances and a 16-year-old debutant who can't wear a gambling sponsor on his shirt because he's not allowed to, that is utterly embarrassing. Embarrassing and not good enough. And it mirrors a little bit of a pattern with Farke when it comes to deflecting responsibility. Fans, we all want accountability. And you're the man who we look to after games. You're the man who we turn into and we go, look, what is he saying about this? It's not good enough. I've gone in. I've given the players an absolute bollocking. That shouldn't be happening. I've got it wrong clearly with putting certain personnel in there who should have done the job. But that has made me learn for the Newcastle game. Not throwing your players under the bus, but almost using it as an assertive message to them that this can't happen again. You can't have Sean Longstaff, Alai Gruev, Sam Byram, Bornau, Beal, Jack Harrison, Piroe. You can't have these players in a starting 11. A lot of which have won the championship last season, and lose to a bunch of children. Once again, Sheffield Wednesday's 9 out of the 11 last night were aged between 18 and 20. And overall, probably because of a Bannon, probably because of a Liam Palmer, that age, the squad average age was 21 last night. And we've gone out and recruited senior players to fit a mould so they can easily, seamlessly fit into the Premier League. So it's got to be better. I want to see accountability when that sort of stuff happens. There needed to be more accountability last night. Farke's got to come out and say it, and he doesn't do that enough for me when it goes against him. He'll deflect. We need to see that as fans. A lot of people won't like that, but it is something that I want as a fan. You guys might not, but calling the performance embarrassing, completely get, but then saying it's not like Sheffield. We made changes and Sheffield Wednesday made changes. Really? Come on, mate. You're rotating with Sebastian Bornau, who's worth 6 million quid. That is probably worth Sheffield United's whole squad, Sheffield Wednesday's whole squad right now, including wages. Let's get into a few of your comments, everybody. Let's have a quick look at what you're saying as well in the comment section below. Farke called them all professional football players, trying to make out that they had been playing for years. When Bryn asked, no accountability, worrying signs. They proved that our depth signings are no possible way good enough for the Premier League. Fulham and Wolves will batter us. No point deluding ourselves. Peter says, don't agree, Reece McGill. The owners want a Premier League side. It's why we're developing a stadium to generate more money. Also, relegation would see every Player gone. Dave says, thankfully, I'm off today. People thinking we're getting something out of the tune of delusional. Naz says, Connor, unfortunately, the squad and the new signings are not just good enough. Simple. Stevie says, they deserved. Them young boys showed Farke. They did stand up, yeah. 100%. Stefan says, surprised you can cover that embarrassment in 5 things. It's only a matter of time till DF is gone. DCL is Bamford in disguise. Nathan says, 585 watching, 84 likes. Yeah, cheers. New signings did look poor, but it's early days. Anthony says, astonishing. Farke couldn't give those kids the credit they deserve. I completely agree with that, mate. And excuse the unacceptable levels from us. One game where excuses really weren't welcome. Just take the accountability. Chris says the myth that soon as someone puts on a white shirt, they are amazing is gone. We need proven game changers and not a lot of signings similar level to what we already have. Okay, let's get on to a few of the other bits, everybody, that I want to get onto in this video. But yeah, a lot of good comments coming through this morning. And like I've got to say, we have to say this, everybody, and it does get to a level of which sometimes it does get very frustrating. And I've spoken to several content creators about this. You kind of have to go above and beyond to say stuff like, I don't want Daniel Farke out. I'm not turning around and saying, this is that Farke. But as a person, as a fan, and as an individual in general, a friend, a family member, whoever, who I'm interacting with, if they've done something wrong and they've got something wrong and they're at fault, as well as the players, you're the captain of the ship. The players can't come out and you know, say this, that, and the other. They can't. It's up to the manager. You can't go out, and we've seen it too many times from Daniel Farke, where he'll blame certain things maybe within the squad or even if they're on the bench or whatever, and he won't take personal accountability. We need to see that, and it's a pattern with him. I need to see that, especially from last night. Okay, let's talk about Joel Piroe. So this is an interesting experiment, really, with Piroe. And the 19 goals last season were excellent. The Championship is very different to the Premier League. And it was another game last night as well where I thought he looked absolutely anonymous, created very little in open play. Obviously, DCL came on. I'm not going to blame DCL too much because I know what people are saying. I think it is a little bit harsh, I'll be honest, when people are absolutely going after DCL. Obviously, he came on 3 chances and he smacked his penalty over the bar. Of course, I get that. First appearance, but at least he was getting into the right spots. He should have scored. We all know that. But at least he's getting into the right spots. You just don't get that with Piroe. That's the issue at this moment in time, in my opinion, when it comes to his positional play. Created very little, at least when DCL came on. And as Farke, to be fair to him, said in the post-match discussion, you know, 3 chances. Normally he would score 2, and I do agree with that with the quality of chances. Now, his penalty wasn't acceptable. It was a joke of a penalty from DCL. But I think structurally we've got to really figure out here what we're doing with Piroe. I don't get it. I don't understand the experiment. For me, in the Premier League, I've mentioned it several times, he comes on in the last 15, 20 minutes, right? And that is me being so kind. It is unbelievable. You know, I've mentioned the other day that 19 goals in the Championship were great. I don't think it was that great a level last season when it comes to potency of strikers. Got the golden boot, fair play to him. But he has been a Championship striker for Swansea and for Leeds United now for, 3 or 4 seasons. There needs to be that step up, but I think maybe that step up hasn't been made and maybe teams in the Premier League haven't come in for him for certain reasons. And I probably would look at right now moving Joel Piroe on and bringing in another striker. And I think that across the board seems to be maybe agreeable with a lot of people. If it's not, that's absolutely fine. It's not reactionary because I'm going to talk about why I don't think Joel Piroe works consistently in the Premier League. And even against Children last night, I thought in certain areas he was getting bullied off the ball by the Sheffield Wednesday centre-backs. And that just, it cannot happen. It was another lifeless performance other than a couple of free kicks. And I think when you're looking at him stylistically going into the Premier League, and this is a positive with Leeds, if they're able to get him off the books, if this Cagliari interest is real, and they're able to get him for 15 million, we'll make a little bit of a loss on him, I think, with the amount we bought him in for originally. But getting in another striker on the back of that, Demirovic, Mitrovic, all the itches, whoever, that is a proven goal scorer right now, I think is absolutely, you know, essential. And you look at Dominic Calvert-Lewin last night, I like the signing, I do. Him coming into that side last night, we've got to look at it. We've got to take it with a pinch of salt. It wasn't good enough in terms of in terms of putting the ball in the back of the net. The penalty, that should never happen with a striker, in my opinion. You should never hit the ball 4 foot over the bar in a pressure situation like that. And it wasn't really a pressure situation. There was no Wednesday fans in the stadium. And he had a point to prove, didn't he? He's a Sheffield lad, Sheffield United. So we had a couple of them, didn't we, with Bogle, who actually came on and looked really good. But with him, you know, with Okafor to an extent, with Metcha, with Piroe, you need guaranteed goals. It can't just be about this whole, well, they tried, and we've done this for years with Bamford, etc., but it's, well, they got into good positions. They next time it'll happen. I'm giving DCL that almost leverage because I know it was his first appearance. I know it's sometimes in those scenarios it's difficult coming in, but with Piroe, I look at his attributes, and I've just mentioned the goal scoring, and there needs to be guarantees. I don't see Joel Piroe as scoring goals guaranteed in the Premier League. See it in the Championship, definitely. I do. Yeah, I do. But I would also see Metcha and DCL and players like that scoring regularly in the Championship. It's that level up where we need to start seeing something now. Has to start coming in. And I thought, a couple of goals. I mean, the fact he started and played all the minutes again, it's very Daniel Farke, isn't it? Just keeping Joel Piroe on the pitch and not changing certain personnel. But I think when you're looking at it, there's a low mobility rate with him. I've mentioned this before. He doesn't stretch defenders or running behind, so he's constantly coming toward the ball, which narrows your play. I think there's a pressing weakness, which we even saw last night, which I thought was a little bit sluggish. It doesn't set the tone off the ball, which naturally leaves the midfield exposed. I think he's very one-dimensional when it comes to Yoel. I think he needs service to score, doesn't really create, doesn't really carry, or I don't think that will happen in the Premier League at least. And I think when you're looking at like a sort of lifeless performance against Sheffield Wednesday, the lack of good stylistic matchup, which I think more goes down to the manager when it comes up to him against Arsenal. I think at least when you look at Okafor, I think when you look at maybe Dominic Calvert-Lewin will pin centre-backs. I think when you look at Okafor, at least if we're looking at him as a striker, he's going to bring some sort of varying degree of mobility and pressing. And I don't know what Piroe really is at the Premier League. He's a finisher, waiting for chances. And the problem is in the Premier League, we're not going to get a lot of chances. We're not. You need to outperform your XG. You need to be on a level of which you're being ruthless, and I just don't see it with him. I don't see it with him, and I don't think the other side of his game gets him out of that. I don't think that happens. So I'm worried about him. I think overall, when you look at Joel Piroe right now, I think that so far you describe his start for Leeds, aside from what a good 30 minutes against Everton, is a bit flatlining, and he's been given opportunities. He was given, obviously, 60 minutes against Everton, of which I've even come out and said I thought 30, 35 minutes he did really well in terms of that link-up. We can't, rewrite history there. Arsenal completely out the game. Sheffield Wednesday, I thought he was largely out the game yesterday as well, apart from a couple of free kicks. So, but Leeds need guaranteed goal scorers. This is what I'm talking about. So you can get rid of Joel Piroe and you can invest back into Leeds United as a striker, like 1-for-1. That's what I'd quite like to see. I don't see it working with him in the Premier League. I just don't. So I'm interested to hear what you guys say in the comment section below regarding this. Let's have a quick look. When it comes to Piroe, we should have started with our strongest team. They all need time. It's early in the season. We're playing against kids. I don't know what that means, mate. I don't know. We arguably did start Jamal with our strongest team. I don't know what that means. Is that you're saying kids should have beaten this Leeds United side? Look, mate, as I say, on this channel, it's subjective. It doesn't mean I have to agree with what you're saying, and that's what I'm doing right now, Jamal. Respect your opinion. Flash it up on screen. I think you're wrong there. I think any of this Leeds United squad compiled should be able to get a result against a team full of 18 to 20-year-olds who've got 4 senior appearances between 8 of them. DCL is a disaster signing. I don't agree with that. DCL couldn't score against children. I'll say is, and I've said this a couple of times, there's quite a lot of players out there who are getting hammered after last night, and a lot of it is our new signings. Okay, so you got DCL, who I get it, because he's probably going to be on 900 grand a week. Okafor, who's coming on 21 million euros. But I've seen nothing, and this is why I wanted to talk about it. And it's not the blame game, but it's more like stylistically how Leeds United can go forward and get the best out of certain individuals. I've seen barely anything on Joel Piroe, very little on Brendan Aronson, and it feels like, even in that midfield, when you're looking at certain individuals, Gruev or Longstaff, there's not been a lot spoken about with those guys, and I think that's what we need to focus on in this video, and getting the best out of these individuals to get the best out of Leeds United ultimately. But Joel Piroe, I'm going to be quite critical with it, everybody. I'm going to be quite critical with it. I think we need to move him on. And he might score against Newcastle. Brilliant. That's what I want him to do. But I think overall, when we are looking at someone like him, I think DCL's a better fit for Leeds United. I think Metcha's a better fit. But we cannot just turn around and say, well, they got into the right area. This cannot be a theme throughout this season. It can't be the Patrick Bamfordism where we get into the Premier League, but it's like, oh, Bamford nearly scored. He nearly did this. He nearly put that penalty in. And this is where it does attribute to DCL. It's where it does attribute to Metru. I'm giving a little bit of leeway because his penalty against Everton was brilliant. I thought he was really good when he came on, and against Arsenal he was good. So I'm giving him a little bit of leeway. Piroe, anonymous, flatlined again. DCL, first 40 minutes last night, should have scored. We all know that, but there needs to be a bigger sample size. There needs to be a bigger sample size for me. Can you see Farke dropping Piroe? Well, he needs to, and we'll get into Newcastle in a little bit, mate. Kate, we're going to get into that, don't worry. Guys, if you would do me a favour, let's see how many of you are in the building this fine morning. I know it's a bit of a different set of programming, but let's have a quick look. There is 918 of you. Great to see a lot of you in here as well. I didn't expect that with the rumour mill not been on, so make sure you're slapping a like on the video if you do like the 5 things. Really appreciate that. Okay. Arjo says, if Arjo says, chill people, they all have to gel, get some game time, we need some additions and we'll be fine. Arjo, that's kind of, I think that's a really sensible comment. I do think that's a sensible comment. What I will say, Arjo, is I don't think with Leeds United fans sort of being upset with last night, I think that is completely understandable. And I will include myself in that. And I think, Arjo, that should be you as well. Being upset about last night, it's not acceptable. It's not acceptable no matter how much the manager or everybody else frames it. That is not acceptable. And we know what's going on at Sheffield Wednesday right now. Their first win of the campaign. It shouldn't be about giving Leeds United excuses because they sat in and they were difficult to get through. They're children. David Brown has coached about 10 of them in the last 12 months. Okay, it's not good enough. So there needs to be a serious reaction, but you are right. There really needs to be positivity at the end of this, and I am going to try and get to that, but there is a way of which we need to get into going forward. Morning, Loaf. How's it going, mate? Good to see you in here. Hard to find positives. It really is hard to find positives, mate. It is massively lacks intensity and creativity last night. What I will say is, I don't know if you guys saw this, and this is kind of what I find quite interesting. I thought when you've got a scenario, and we've spoken about it in pre-season, of course we have. We've spoken about it in pre-season when it comes to Leeds United and when it comes to, you know, the combinations that you've got on the pitch. I think what got to me a little bit last night is I thought when Bogle came on and Nonso came on and they were there on that right-hand side, I think what's irritating, and this is when it comes to a pragmatic sense from Daniel Farke, you've seen the link-up play, and the reason we spoke about Bogle and James in pre-season, I've said lots of times, I do prefer Willie on that left-hand side. I do like him on that left-hand side, but the more I'm looking at him now, and the more I'm looking at Bogle and how well I think he started the season, I love that link-up because it's closer. There's sequences, there's combinations there, there's a synergy between them. I think the problem with DJ and Bogle when they play together is there's such a distance between the both. Why? Because Dan James is always looking at getting in behind the fullback, which is completely viable, understandable, and I get that from a James standpoint. But I think in the pockets to draw defenders in and to be able to play around defenders and drag defenders out of their normal space. Defenders in the Premier League defend space before players, so to drag them out of that space, the combinations, how good both of them are in tight spaces, which we saw against Man United on the right-hand side, where they were both brilliant. I think the link-up between those two was so good in that game, and I thought you saw a massive difference with Leeds United when you saw them. And look at the goal, in particular with Bogle and Nonso. So then what he does in the 82nd minute is he brings James on and then takes Nonso and puts him on the left. And I'm sat there watching it and I'm thinking, what are you doing? And that's kind of the worry sometimes I have with it. It's like the tactical imprint. I mentioned this the other night with Arsenal. We're marking zonally against Arsenal, who are unbelievable with set pieces. Go man for man. Get Strauk and get Rodon against Gabriel and against Saliba. Don't let Gabriel have the run with Willian Nonso stood in front of him. There was just no work on set pieces going into the Arsenal game. This is what I'm talking about with preparation, tactical nuance. You've got to do these things. Have to do these things. You have to be dedicated to these things. And sometimes I just worry with some of his decision-making, in-game in particular. I just think to myself, what are you doing? what are you doing? What's up here with that? When that's working, it's worked for the goal. You've seen them build up really nicely together on that right-hand side. We saw it in pre-season. As I've said, I mentioned, I prefer Nonto on that left-hand side, but I'm now veering towards the other side because of the combination play between Nonto and Bogle, which we saw in the Man United game. We saw again last night, and it looks really good. They're on each other's wavelength, and then he moves it. Why does he move it? Why? To accommodate Dan James on the right. When that's working, it's worked for the goal. Yeah. It's bewildering sometimes, and that's kind of the level of which, I kind of question it a little bit. So let's talk about the midfield imbalance as well. So I think what we need to do as well, and this comes to a positive standpoint when it's about Leeds United signing players, okay? So for me right now, obviously we know Tanaka, we know Ampadu are both out for the Newcastle game, and then probably potentially the Fulham game. I don't know. We'll have to see how bad Tanaka's injury is, obviously the MCL. But I think what you're seeing last night is a double pivot. And I'm not going to go on Gruev for this game, because I actually thought Gruev was better than Longstaff. Shock horror, I know. But I think what was sort of worrying about Sean is maybe the struggling of carrying the ball, failing to sort of link play with Metra, I thought, especially through that first half. I think what you're seeing right now is in that team in particular, and even when Tanaka and Ampadu are in there, you need a connector. You have to have a connector. I'm not sure Stacks it, because I think he's an all-out midfielder, and I think we need that in there, a combative midfielder who can do the drop deep between the centre-backs, but I think he likes to effectively be box-to-box a little bit more, but I wouldn't call him a connector. I don't think he's got that level of technical ability to be in the half spaces, in the pockets, and be undetectable, of which you can see from an Emi Buendia, you can see from a Pablo Hernandez, you can see from all our favourites over the years, and a Gus Hamer, okay? So for me, if Longstaff's not able to do it last night as effectively that box, and I've mentioned this before, I thought he should have started against Arsenal, but I think it's more stylistic because you've got a taller player against taller players, so I think Leeds would have been able to compete more. But I guess my worry last night was that he's getting bounced off the ball by Sheffield Wednesday children midfielder. He's pressing well, which is what Longstaff is. He's a good presser, he's a decent runner, but I think there needs to be more in possession with Sean. I think we saw that last night. I think his failure to link play, being the more advanced of the pivot, was a slight worry. His on-the-ball work, which we've mentioned several times on the channel, isn't what he's strongest at. But I think against a Newcastle side, of which we'll get into towards the back end of the video, I'm really, really struggling to see how that works. So what I think Leeds United need to do as a positive and as a bit of progression here is I think Leeds need to go out and get a number 8, a number 10, but probably a number 10 of which, can morph into the 8 we've spoken about. Hamer before, we've spoken about Buendia. I think he fits that role as well. I think El Canous fits that role. Buenanotte to an extent, although I know he likes to peel out on that right-hand side, but I think he conducts himself in this roaming phase of which he can move centrally as well and on the right. You've got players out there who I think Leeds United need to get in before Newcastle and need to start them. I don't like this whole, they need weeks and weeks and weeks, whether or not it's Okafor. And I know he started last night, but I'm talking about Premier League games. Could he have started against Arsenal? I don't see why not. He's been playing in pre-season. DCL, I know he's not had a pre-season, but he's kept himself fit. Could he have featured against Arsenal? Could have come off the bench? He said that he's fit and raring to go. Match sharpness is a different thing. I completely understand that. But could he have come on and featured? I think so. I think what we need to start doing is bedding these players in a little bit earlier. I don't think the Farke system is like the Bielsa system where it's going to take months to learn. I really don't. I think it's pretty basic. So I would like a connector to come in. And I think a connector ideally has to come in before the weekend. And look, we know the window shuts soon. Go out and get Gus Hamer. The move is there. I can tell you the move is there to be done. I think Gus Hamer will want the move, genuinely. I think Leeds have got the money to go out and spend. We know this. I think Gus Hamer, when you're looking at his Premier League contributions in a woeful Sheffield United side, which is above 10, I think he's someone who we can get in. He started the season pretty positively as well. I think there's someone there we can go and get. I don't think Buendia works, but if you want to go get Buendia in terms of his injury record, Hamer has played 80-plus games in the last 2 years. Buendia doesn't have that. But if you want to go get Buendia, fine. He qualifies as a connector for me. El Canous doesn't look like that's going to happen, but you've got to go out and get someone. You have to go out and get someone. And I'm not of the notion that because you're a Championship player, you're not good enough for the Premier League. I think that is nonsense. And I think what you've seen with Gus Hamer over the years is Premier League performance, Championship readiness when he goes down, and worst case scenario, everybody, there'll be a sell-on fee. Not only that, there'll be a player there in the Championship worst case scenario. So you've got to look at the bigger picture, long term. Gus Hamer, this whole, he's fat thing, well, he plays a lot of games. Might get tired from to the 75th minute, as do a lot of players. And that is where Daniel Farke makes his changes anyway. So that doesn't really bother me. If he's able to be effective in the first 70 minutes and he's able to really conjure something, score a goal out of nothing, he literally is a ball carrier. He literally is a bit of X factor, which we don't have. We don't have that in the midfield. We need a connector. You need someone with a little bit of X factor. If we're that ignorant to go around and say, Gus Hamer's not good enough for us, we're better than that. And we just stick with what we've got, or go and get someone from the continent who we've not heard of. And yeah, I've seen, look, if he's got the attributes of Cristante Succe to come in and seamlessly fit into that camp, amazing. But that's not available now. It's not ready. It's not available. Gus Hamer is definitely available for Leeds United right now, and it's an obvious one to get done. There's been too many times over the years where Leeds United have not got the obvious transfer done. And I'm telling you, if he came in, you'd all be shocked by his performance levels. I'm telling you. I've watched this boy way too much to not understand, to understand why he'd be a good fit for Leeds United. But there's others out there. There is others out there. But you need that connector. Have to have that connector for me. All right, see how many of you are in here, everybody. Yeah, we've got about 1,000 in the building. Make sure you're slapping a like on the video. Thank you. Okay, let's have a look. Let's have a look. I would take Hamer all day. People that don't think he's good enough for this team is ludicrous. Hamer, 100%. Okay, we'll get a poll in. I presume there's probably going to be about, and it's fine. I get it, but in a sense, I don't get it. But there's probably just going to be a lot of you who just don't want it. So, but I'll do the poll. Hamer, yes, no. Homer, Homer, yes, no. Let us know in the chat, and we'll get the poll results up. Okay, agreed, Connor. Hamer would be a great fit for us. Look, he's press resistant as well. He's able to bypass a press. He's able to win free kicks in the final third, which he does consistently. And then guess what? He takes the free kick. And he's a good set piece taker. And he's a very good ball striker. And he's very good in the half spaces. And he can play on the left. He can play centrally. I don't know who we think we are sometimes. I really don't. He's good in the half space. He's explosive. Oh, he gets tired after 75 minutes, as if the rest of our team don't at points. Do you know what I mean? As if half the team didn't get tired against Arsenal. Half the team didn't get tired when Everton were bossing the early stages of the second half, and we got to the 65th minute and we're thinking we need changes here. Players look tired. As if Piroe doesn't look tired after 65 minutes. As if Aronson doesn't. Even though he's a Duracell bunny, he looks knackered sometimes after 65 minutes. Gus Hamer's playing 80-plus games a season, and he's getting tired after 70 minutes. So what? Every player does. Put him through a fitness regime. Get him into a 90-minute player if you want, but that's not regularity in football. Players get changed, especially in the attacking third, when you're chasing a game, which Leeds United are going to have to do more often than not. Okay, Daniel says, why are we... Cheers for the donation, mate, as well. Why are we moving Piroe around? He's been at the club long enough to know his position. The fact he's not a 9 and not a 10 needs to be moved. I agree. I completely agree, Dan. I don't know what he is, mate. I honestly don't know what he is. Harrison is clearly our fittest player, which he plays, but I can't watch him try to cross the ball any longer. Last night, for 5 years, summed up one game for him. Anthony, honestly, I'm trying to not go on to him, because it's just a bit like, what's the point? What is the point? Hi, Connor. Just arrived. Guys and gals, press that like. Connor's your support. I do, guys, do us a favour. And especially, if we're comparing as well, like Aronson in the 10, if you want to compare that. Or, I mean, I don't even really know who goes in there now. What is it, Longstaff? Or you've got to have a connector in there for me. Okay, let's get on to the next talking point. It's going on for a while, isn't it? Byram, Ramazani. I'm not going to touch on this too long, but I've kind of got them in the same conversation. It's like, I think when Justin comes in, I need to start seeing Byram just not coming on. Not being featured. Look, I know Daniel Farke absolutely loves him, and I think Leeds players have said in interviews before, he's the teacher's pet. He's literally nowhere near Leeds United starting 11 and shouldn't be. Once again, by Sheffield Wednesday players last night, he's getting pressed and then he's going backwards. He's not able to offer any form of overlap. Stuttery on the ball, not quick. On the ball, not great. heavy touches. Just I need to stop seeing, and you need to stop seeing as well, presumably, Sam Byram coming on at the Emirates, starting cup games. Let's just move that on. And I don't know how long this is going to be for James Justin now. Is he going to take 8 weeks to get used to the Farke system? I'm not sure. I know he's suffered a few injuries as well. But I need to start seeing other players in there. We cannot be having Byram coming on at the Emirates. We cannot be having Byram start cup games. It just cannot happen anymore. And that kind of moves me on as well to Ramazani and what the club now needs to do. Obviously, Carlos Scorbrand's got his mitts on him. I think he'll come back a better player with the coaching of him. I think we missed last night someone who was direct, risky, electric. I think that's what we missed. Someone who will get a shot off. Someone's a risk taker. Ramazani's a risk taker. That's why he's not liked. He's a risk taker who will lose the ball. That's what you used to get. That's what we absolutely used to laud Pablo Hernandez for, Samu Saiz for. They're not those sorts of players. They're the risk players who will lose the ball because they'll try something. They will try something, which the other members of the side maybe can't do, don't have the technical capacity to do. So when you risk, you normally get reward. If you don't get reward, the other players basically have to set up a structure and a framework to get the ball back and then get it back to that player, and he tries again. I think we missed someone like a Ramazani in the Arsenal game to give us something off the bench to get us up the pitch, win free kicks, try the goalkeeper at least twice maybe. And then last night, I think someone like him makes a difference. I really do, and I think he puts the absolute fear factor into Sheffield Wednesday. Not that Sheffield Wednesday we should have needed that, but I think when you've seen the likes of Ramazani leave, and then there needs to be some sort of replacement coming in out wide. There needs to be. And then obviously starting Aronson, and as you guys know, starting Aronson and Harrison and getting rid of Ramazani, I just find it mental. But, I'm not a coach, but it is what it is. The positive through this is Leeds have got to go out. And guys, this might not seem like a happy stream, and it's not a happy stream because of last night, but we are going to try find things of which we can move forward with and progress and not just sit here and moan. But with Ramazani out, we need a replacement. We need someone who is that direct, risky, electric player. Whether or not that's a number 10, whether or not it's another winger, maybe both. That would be great. It's a couple of attacking players who both encompass that. But then you're trying to encompass that and being amazing off the ball, which Farke wants, a good defensive winger, which Farke wants. That's hard to find. It is hard to find. So I'll have to wait and see with that one. Get into a couple more comments, then we're going to move on to the last couple of things. Willie on the right with Bogle just works. And Okafor at 10, he cuts in and has that position anyway. I thought Okafor was good last night. I know he got a lot of flack. We've got 76% of you saying Hamer, yes. We'll just end that poll. But there you go, 76 players. Mike says, Connor, I was raging last night but calm now. However, I feel like our new squad is at best not better than last season. Okafor was garbage. I don't think he was garbage. I think the worry for me was Sakiri, who's their right-sided player, was pushing him inside every time. But I think, once again, I don't want to... Guys, I really struggle to just... I don't want to hammer the new signings. I know I've spoke about Longstaff, but that's more worrying about the midfield imbalance with him in there. So, and how we move forward with that. And you need a connector, so that's the positive at the end of that. But I think the glaring errors last night are not Okafor. They're not Dominic Calvert-Lewin. They weren't Perry at the weekend. It is a lot of our existing players. I love Strout. He was horrendous at the weekend. Piroe, horrendous at the weekend. I'm not blaming Piroe solely for that. That's his game. He's not a hold-up player. He's not a great link-up player, especially when the ball's going long and into his head. Not great with it. It's not his game. And then you look at some of the other players, and Gruev at the weekend wasn't great. It was a little bit better last night. I don't think Gruev, and this is where some of you are like, oh, you got an agenda. I haven't, because I thought Longstaff was a problem last night. I thought Gruev was better. I'm nearly 32 years of age. I don't have agendas. Other people might. I don't. But yeah, I'm not gonna cast aside all of our new signings. Beal got a bit last night. Okafor got a bit last night. DCL, I need to see more of them. I need to see more of a sample size. I've seen a lot of Sean Longstaff previously. That's why I'm making a little bit of a judgment. DCL, I've seen a bit of before. Obviously, we all have. And I think if Leeds were able to get that, at least DCL got into the positions last night, which Piroe could barely do. At least he got into the positions. I know it sounds contradictory because I've said it can't just be that this season, and that's the lightning rod. We've got a strike at DCL this season. You're a player coming in on 90 plus grand a week. It's not just about getting in the right spaces. You need to put the ball in the back of the net. to stay up. It's ruthless this season. Ruthless this season. But I don't think looking at the new signings should be our primary focus. I think a lot of the problems is that the championship players that have come up with us and are struggling. And we've got more evidence on those players. I really struggle to look at a lot of the new players and say, no. I think the manager's getting things wrong at the minute. And I think the old players being levelled up to the Premier League are struggling at the minute in certain areas. And not even in the Premier League. I think, you look at the cup competition. Right, okay, let's get into a couple more points, everybody, to fire off with. So set pieces are another thing to look at from last night. Leeds had 8. And the starting 11 was... this is how the game ended with the Giants on the pitch, but the starting 11 last night, we'll just get it up on old live score as well. Obviously, we know Bornau was playing last night, but the lineups, not a particularly tall Sheffield Wednesday side either because they're not physically developed yet. But you're starting with Mecha, 6'2", can help at corners. No Okafor, 6'1", can help at corners. Sean Longstaff, 6'1". Jacobiel, 6'4". Bornau, 6'4". Sam Byram, 6 foot. You've got to be better from set pieces. Leeds had 8 corners and multiple free kicks. Really 0 until the second half, maybe when a couple were being shot on goal direct and a couple of deflections. Set piece have got to be worked on. Defending, set pieces, zonally. Left Leeds completely exposed at the weekend. It has to be man for man. Has to be man for man against these Premier League sides. So you've got to be able to attack set pieces with the profiles that we brought in, and you've got to be able to defend them as well. So if we're not able to attack them properly last night, which we weren't, we looked hopeless on them when it comes to the delivery. That brings me back to Gus Hamer and bringing in maybe a set piece specialist. You're not able to deliver them, and then when it's in the box, you're not able to win your individual duels. You've got to start working on set pieces in training, and I don't know if we are, because we can't have worked on set pieces in training when we're working zonally like that against Arsenal. We can't have done. So there's got to be a little bit of development there. So let's talk about Newcastle. Newcastle. So for this game in particular, what needs to change, and I'm going to put my little blueprint, which I've written down today on my note. So the intensity needs to be there. I think Leeds need to press high in that midfield on Bruno Guimaraes, because if you let him have the ball, there has to be good cover in there. But if you let him have the ball, he's going to just run as ragged. You've got to be pragmatic in possession. I think Leeds have got to mix some of these direct balls into Nonto or Okafor with strikers holding the ball. So I think Dominic Calvert-Lewin or Mecha have to start the game. Don't overplay versus their press, which is exactly what we're doing against Arsenal. It needs to be quick. You need to already know where the ball's going before the ball gets to you, whether or not it's in the channel, whether or not it's direct to the big man, or whether or not you're interchanging within that midfield. But it's got to be quicker. It wasn't quick last night. It was slow. It was turgid. It was passive between the lines. You've got to be quicker in the Premier League. Okay? Set piece discipline. I mentioned this last night. Zonal against Dan Burn, Botman, Shah. I know Shah was injured, but whoever comes in, Tau, who's just come in from AC Milan, who's a monster. You go zonal against these, they're gonna punish you anyway, and you do not want to go into the Premier League season being exposed on set pieces, because we knew what that was like under Bielsa. Exploit the fullbacks. There's a way to do this, I think, especially with the spacing behind Trippier with the pace that we've got. Pick the right striker. It's another blueprint. Pick the right striker. If he starts with Joel Piroe again, I'm going to go put my head in a microwave. And transitional discipline. Okay? You've got to reset very quickly and in a very proper way. Or the likes of Anthony Elanga, Asula, who I thought looked good when he came on the other day. Harvey Barnes are going to kill you in transition. So outpassing, once again, as we all know this at home, outpassing Newcastle won't work. Leeds have got to make this game absolutely chaotic. We've got to make it beyond getting over a press, and then we've got to revert back into our shape and be disciplined. Really disciplined. You've got to move quickly. You've got to get back in your shape efficiently. The lineup's got to be correct. And ultimately, you've got to be disciplined. Okay. Right, guys, I'm leaving it there. Let us know what you think in the comment section below. Really appreciate your support. There is over 1,000 of you in the building today. Check out our sponsors, as always, everybody. As I say, the Room Mill will be back tomorrow, and we'll have previews and bits. If you want to head on over to the Patreon, we've got Generation Leeds with the old boy coming out. We've got a podcast episode with Benjamin Bloom and Matt SB on the second channel coming out as well today around about 1 or 2 o'clock. So check on over there if you're interested in that one. It's been an absolute pleasure. Like before you leave, everybody. Really appreciate it, and we'll see you on the other side.